Hello and welcome to Yeti Roleplays, where I go way too far in my quest to get in the role and end up forgetting who I am sometimes. Speaking of forgetting who you are, have you ever wondered how to roleplay? Sure, you can try and mimic Critical Role or just act like your character, but if you haven't seen my roleplay series, Fallout or ESO, you should check them out and see what I mean. Roleplaying isn't just picking a concept or a build and then just playing the game. Roleplaying involves getting into who the character is and why they're doing something, and why they would be going for this, and how a scene would reshape them in some way. If a scene has little effect on them or doesn't seem to fit them, why are they even there? Let's take a good example of this, and I want to play an orc. We're going to use the Elder Scrolls Online for this example, but this tactic works pretty much universally for any and all RPG scenarios within reason. Let's think about what he does. What's his profession? What is his job? It's a bit stereotypical, but he's a blacksmith. So traditionally, orcs grow up around the forge, so it's not necessarily hard not to see that. If that's the case, then why is he in this decrepit dungeon? That becomes kind of the motivation. What's his quest? What's the reason he's here? Why are we here? Why are we watching him? Why are we listening to him? Why are we interested in what he's doing? And you can't just say because we're just playing a game, because that's not how you roleplay. That's just playing a game. We're worrying about why the character's here. What drove him to come into this dungeon? Let's think about it. Is he a prisoner? Is he searching for something? Maybe he came here for adventure? What's going to change about him in there? Is this particular dungeon going to change him in some way for what he's being down here for? How is it going to affect him going forward? These thoughts are kind of what go behind what creates a roleplay, what creates your character and allows you to roleplay in a way that makes sense. And a lot of characters are generally motivated by something. A motive is kind of like can be considered kind of like a mini quest or a long-term goal if they have them, and they can work together with something a little more concrete, personal about them. It's kind of like a personality trait. So I have this resource here that I will be putting in the description, and I would highly recommend you looking it over. Anyway, this is a list of the 5th edition D&D personality traits and ideals and stuff, which is great for this particular exercise that I want to share with you, and hopefully it will encourage you to create your character as well. Now let's get back to our orc in the dungeon. We know that he's a blacksmith, but let's say he believes that that thinking, that horrible thought is, that's just for other people. He prefers action. He needs to get into it. He's not a man to stand around and just think. He's an action guy. He's really action oriented. So now you kind of get like an idea, an impression of a footprint, kind of like you're putting your thumb into molded clay and you get that fingerprint. You know who he is. You get that snapshot of him. So he's this no nonsense orc who takes action first and leaves the thoughts for others to figure out. He doesn't want to listen to what people have to really say. He's kind of just, I'm all about the action. We could say this is stubbornness. Potentially it could also be a case of him not being very smart, but let's not really consider so much that. Maybe it's just an eagerness to move. Maybe he's just a high-spirited orc who tends to get into trouble a lot because of his fiery spirit. Personality, that's great. We got an idea of who he is, but you need to temper it. And the perfect way to temper that is an ideal. But we're going to draw again from that list that I had already linked in the description. Ideals kind of help harness the personality and give a bit more substance to who that character is. So let's say he's honorable and he doesn't steal from others in the trade. So maybe he's lawful. I mean, if you want to consider alignment, I know a lot of people don't like alignment. I use the alignment kind of as a guideline to kind of give me an idea of who my character is and how they feel about certain things. Totally up to you if you want to use it, but we're going to use lawful for this case. Well, here's a thought. Maybe he's down there because he was told about a unique smithing tool that was lost down there, and now he's gone in after it. No thoughts, just action. Now, he's not down here to kind of steal this tool, but perhaps he's trying to retrieve it for his guild. Maybe he's a part of a guild. Maybe thieves came in and stole this tool, and now he's trying to return it to a smith that he respects. Something to kind of tie him to the world. I already mentioned that maybe is a part of a guild. So now we have an idea. He's a part of a smithing guild. So now he's trying to repay a debt to them for teaching and supporting him. Obviously, maybe he wasn't born in an orc stronghold and he's actually, maybe he was born in the city and he didn't have that stronghold to teach him how to use his smithing skills, and he was actually taught by a guild. So now he has a reason to do this. Then you want to throw a wrench in everything. Yeah, I know. We want all this cohesion, but then you want that wrench. You want that one thing that kind of, you can stick him with it. You can kind of stick him in the side with it, and gets him. And that would be your flaw, the thing that makes them human, or well, in this case, relatable. You can kind of you see that they're not just a superhero. They're still human inside, or orc in this case. So let's say he stole from the guild when he was younger, trying to take care of something and needed to take care of, and he's trying to keep it a secret. And maybe this particular smith that he respects isn't so much he respects him, but he knows that he stole it, and he's trying to, he's using this particular case as a leverage to say, go get my tool. But then we got to wonder, why did he steal it in the first place? And that's where you start really digging into the backstory. We haven't even given this orc a name yet. We haven't even really gotten into any sort of action or anything. We just got an idea of who this character is just by this simple exercise. So let's go back into the dungeon with it. We know why he's there now. He's there trying to redeem himself, or at least get a tool back to try and repay his debt to a smith who knows what he did when he was younger. And now we have stakes, we have a goal, we can now proceed with what needs to be done. So the next question is, what do we expect to see happen from him going into this dungeon? What do we hope is going to happen? How will this change him? I mean, once this adventure is done, you can then consider how your character felt about that, and how did they change? Did something happen that made them consider this something about themselves? Let's say he found the thieves that stole this tool, and it turns out they're not actually stealing it for, monetary gain. They're taking it to try and help their friend out, whose armored boot got crushed by a boulder or a rock or something. The tool's the only tool that can be used to get it off of his foot for some reason. And so now we had to wonder, does our orc go ham and just, murder these people for stealing from someone? Or does he take it from them and leave their friend die? Or, another thought, does he try and help him? I mean, if we think about what his reasoning for was stealing from the guild coffers, perhaps it was a way to help somebody that was important to him. Maybe a friend was in trouble and he needed help, he needed money, he needed some way of getting, free. So he's lawful, but he believes in personal freedoms. These are the things that you can consider when role playing, and this is what makes role play so great, is because I just made an entire story about an orc in a matter of a few minutes, and we can then take that orc and see where he goes from there. We want to know, okay, where does he go from there? Does this orc, does he get thrown in jail for what he did? Does the guild say, you're a great person for doing this, thank you, here's some money, or here's enough money to start up your own shop to help out people? What happens next? And that's what roleplay does. You want to know what happens next. It's not the story's over. The story's going to continue to build and continue to go and go and go and go. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of what roleplay is. I want to ask you, how do you feel about this as a medium to play games in? Have you ever considered trying it? Have you seen the roleplay series that I do? And have you wanted to do it yourself? Is this something that you're interested in? Let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions, comments, or queries, or if you want to answer any of those questions. I'd really appreciate it. Or if you want, you can reach me on the Discord server or any of my other social media platforms to get, in connection with me, to let me know what you guys think. But as you must always remember, this is just roleplay. Yeti roleplays. Until next time, my friends.